Hello everyone, my name is ExtremeTuber7, and I'm here to give you another lovely Multicrew video. This one today is going to be featuring the MISC Starfarer, which is a ship that is about 100 meters long and about 4 stories tall. It basically is a ship that has about 4 to 7 active positions with a few turret positions, but that doesn't mean that its crew size of 7 is actually a limitation, because as you'll see in this video, there are obviously more than 7 people on this ship. Sometimes there'll be things like security, or maybe you're using it as a miniature transport ship. There will be other dedicated transport ships in the universe, but the Starfarer is, right now, we can use it as a party boat, essentially. A lot of people and organizations use the Starfarer as a party boat. Now, as you'll also see here, there is quite a lot of space in this ship. Now, I've explored this ship several times, and I'm able to navigate it even in the dark, which you'll see later in the video once we go into a derelict Starfarer. There's actually going to be 2 sections with derelict Starfarers. One is going to be from the Gamescom CIG presentation, and it's going to have essentially a quote-unquote freshly destroyed Starfarer, whereas the one that is in the persistent universe now that we can travel to has been derelict for a while, so it doesn't have all the fancy things like sparks and, well, it doesn't have any of the bodies that are going to be in this trailer. Now, if you think about it, this actually creates a pretty interesting environment, because it really feels unnerving once you go into this ship that you know had people on it, many people on it, and then there's just nothing. It's in pieces, and it creates a really interesting atmosphere. Almost as if you could expect, well, maybe, let's just say, for the sake of it, a xenomorph to jump out of the ship. What happened to this ship? What happened to this ship, you know? Why did it get destroyed? What caused it to crash? Now, in a lot of cases in the persistent universe, there's another Starfarer next to the Starfarer that you're going to be exploring, so it's possibly implied that the 2 Starfarers actually collided. Now, another thing that I'd also like to note is, in this part of the video, where you see all these NPCs moving, those NPCs currently aren't in the game. They will eventually be, probably close to 3.0, because that's part of what is known as the Subsumption AI system, and that's a pretty cool AI system. But the animations are still all there. Those are real animations. Those are motion captured animations. They do constantly, well, not constantly. I mean, obviously there's a schedule they have to stick to. But they do mocap for these things to make the animations more fluid, and the animators go in and clean them up later. So, the Starfarer is actually a fuel ship. It's basically like the equivalent of those those planes that when you're flying in a jet, a fighter jet, they refuel you mid-flight. It's kind of like this. They have hydrogen scoops. They also have those big tanks there. And you can sort of see that it also has really nice cannons that are on the side of near the cockpit. There's front-facing, but there's also a few turreted cannons as well. Those are things that you'd be able to give to your friends, if they just want to, they just want to pew stuff and they don't care about flying. You put them in the manned turrets there, but the front ones are unmanned. I don't exactly know right now off the top of my head where all of the turrets are, but I can assure you there will be plenty of things for many people to do. This ship right here is the proof of concept for the larger ships. Now we're going to be heading into the second part of my video, where we show the Gamescom Starfarer. And this is going to be the very first, well, no, this is going to be the final look of what it would be like if we got a distress call, and let's say we were not able to save them, but at the same time, it wasn't around long enough for us to have just everything to have settled down. It's just freshly destroyed and all that. You can probably see from this video that the outer skin of the Starfarer is stripped away compared to what you saw in the other video where it was fresh and new and crisp. This mission is essentially a sample of things that we would be able to do, and they have a picture-in-picture here to showcase the fact that what people see in the cockpit as well as what people see in first person is all the same. Everybody is seeing the same things. There's no difference between what somebody is seeing and what you're seeing in first person. So that means that it's easier for you to tell if you're shooting somebody, let's say, in an FPS style of combat. If you're shooting somebody, you'll know that if their hand is out, you're actually shooting at their hand, and it's not just, say, a hitbox issue. Right now, Star Marine has issues with that, but it's, of course, the very first iteration of it. Star Marine will be having things like stamina, breathing, and they're not going to be having respawns in some modes. Now, I also like the zero-G aspect here, because I was in derelict Starfarer, and everything that I bumped into actually moved. And surprise, there's a guy here. This is the type of situation that I was describing earlier. You never know what you can find in a derelict Starfarer. It could actually be another player that you'll find there exploring as you. So, if you happen to come across a derelict Starfarer, you should probably come with your guns out, because you never know if they're going to be hostile. They could be friendly, and you could send out a ping, maybe, and you'll also see here that this poor, unfortunate crew member got spaced because of the decompression, and so their corpse has been here for a while and has frosted over. The next part of this video is going to be their journey towards the black box. And when they get to the black box, that is where I am going to shift over to my actual in-game play of me going to a derelict Starfarer in a ship known as the Gladius Valiant. Also, the flashlight, or torch, I'm going to really get used to calling it a torch. The torch in this section is a lot more functional than it actually is in the Persistent Universe Alpha right now. And that's mainly because of the fact that they're still working out rendering issues and optimizing that sort of thing as well. These videos do actually use in-game assets and in-engine assets, but they're cleaned up a little bit more for the sake of being presentable, which is why I am combining both these versions of the derelict Starfarer as well as the actual in-game version of it. So you can sort of see what it actually is versus what they're aiming for, and they will get there because every single demo that they've ever showed has eventually wound up like they showed and playable to us in the alpha format. And that is something that I think is really nice and really cool. And this is Miles Eckhart. Miles Eckhart is a character, and I've also kind of disabled the audio here so that I could talk over him. But it turns out that this video journal thing is something that they're also aiming for, which kind of is sort of a picture-in-picture, but at the same time not. Now, this is the in-game Persistent Universe play, complete with the hologram bug that we tested in the PTU. So obviously that bug wasn't top priority for them. So here is the Gladius Valiant that I'm getting out of, and as you can see, this derelict Starfarer is similar looking to the one that you saw earlier in this video, but at the same time, it's quite different considering that the damage is in different places, as well as the actual amount of damage that's taken place to the Starfarer. Now, I have no idea what a valve shield is, but it seems kind of important. I mean, I guess obviously it's a shield for valves, but I'm not sure what that means in the context of this game and in this universe. So here you can see the cockpit with a data pad that we're going to attempt to get later, maybe. I don't know if I actually went into the cockpit. It's been a while since I recorded this gameplay session. And I'm going to be showing you parts of the outer hull being stripped out, as well as the fact that the fuel tanks are pretty much gone. They're all blown up, I assume. And you'll also see another Starfarer down there for a brief second, because that's what I'm assuming caused these two ships to be in such a damaged state, is the fact that they collided with each other somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe they just had a bad pilot. Why don't you make up a story in your own on why these ships are crashed? And that was a little bit of a mistake. So, cargo is something that is also being worked out here. And you can see here that this is a more direct way to showcase the scale of the game, because this ship is 100 meters long. You can see how it is with a few bits of cargo in it. And in 0G, as well as in destroyed mode, it looks completely different than, and feels completely different than the pristine version that you saw with the tour. Now, if you can imagine what it would be like once NPCs or players are on these all together crewing it, and it being derelict like this, it's going to be quite a scary experience, I think, because, you know, there could be people that are hiding out in 0G in EVA waiting to be rescued, or it could be taken over by pirates, as what that video with the Gamescom demo implied. And here's where I activate my torch for the first time, because beforehand I wasn't using it like a dumbass. And you'll also see that the torch has rendering errors, as well as some shadow flickering in the video as well. But yeah, that's just one of the parts of it being an alpha. Did I mention that it was in an alpha? Because I think that's kind of important. It is in an alpha state, and we are being allowed to test it early, as well as provide feedback as to some of the things that are in the game, like, for instance, the flight model, as well as potentially later down the line how much the in-game currency is going to be worth versus what it actually is worth now. Right now we're at about 1,000 UEC per dollar, and it's implied that that rate is going to decrease or increase, maybe, to make the ships more expensive. And this is also on a pristine Starfarer. This would be where the pods were that were the fuel tanks, and as you can see, they are no more. It's just kind of a mess. And I don't remember where I went next after this, but I'll continue from earlier. The Starfarer basically has... oh, a little bit of clipping there. Ooh, that'll be fixed. The Starfarer basically has a lot of room on it. The Multicrew Ship that I showed earlier, the Constellation, now that's a nice ship that you can pilot with a friend and maybe another friend as a turret gunner. But this ship has many, many roles for you to play. You can be a security guard if you don't like to fly your own ship, because I'm sure that you can also possibly have diplomats maybe on your Starfarer. You can be a sort of maybe escort in general for prison Starfarer. There's plenty of aspects that you can have. Like, there's also going to be bounty hunting in the game, obviously, along with piracy. I've hinted at that many times. And so this one ship has multiple roles that it can play. And I think I'm going to go into the mess hall a bit here. Let me see. Nope, not into the mess hall. We're actually going to be headed towards where the gravity orb is. Because in this game, we don't have completely artificial gravity. It's sort of a mix between centripetal force as well as a generator of artificial gravity. It depends on the ship. Not all ships will have artificial gravity, so you would have to deal with, in terms of losing power, 0G. But ships are kind of small. This is a really big ship, as I said. And I also note that there's not that many escape pods in this ship. So you there's 7 escape pods. It's really meant for 7 people, and that's the minimum. But it can have more, so I guess people will be sharing escape pods, or they're maybe taking other ships, because there can also be ships that in the cargo hold of the Starfarer, if need be. I tried to access this datapad, but it didn't work out. That's one of the things. The context menu is a little broken right now as well. I think that's about all I have for now. It's a pretty interesting ship, and I like the detail that they go into with the piping being a little exposed sometimes, you being able to see the tubing of everything like that. I wish I could have visited the captain's quarters for you, but when I was exploring the ship, I kind of actually died a little bit, so I didn't really have... the video was going to be too long anyway. By the way, let me know what you guys think. Should I make these videos a bit longer? Should I make them shorter? Give me some feedback on that, and share me some love down below. I think that what you're going to see with Star Citizen is really going to surprise you. And this is just the beginning. This is one of the smaller large ships in Star Citizen. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Give me some feedback down below.